Alrighty. I can't believe it. The camera actually worked this time. I think it was because YouTube has a new system where you have to manually select which webcam you're doing at, and I remembered to put a thumbnail on this time. I'm not normally a clumsy person, but every now and then, even I have my forgetful moments. Um, from what I've heard, it's a scientific fact that even if you don't have dissociative identity disorder, every single person will disassociate at some points in their life. It's just that people with DID are going to be disassociating so much that it leads to different personalities. Whereas the average person might say something like, "Wait, what? What was I doing?" And that's like the extent of it. And that's sometimes what happens to me. Oh, let me make sure you guys can hear me all right. I was pushing it away at first because I'm going to be eating dinner in a few minutes. So, hopefully you guys are okay with the sound of my chewing. From what all my friends tell me whenever we're on the phone and I'm eating dinner at the same time, they all say they can't even hear me. Because I'm a firm believer of food should be eaten and seen but not heard as much as possible. So today I had a really interesting surprise on one of my posts. I made a community post asking if I had anyone from Comic Con in my audience that maybe didn't want to make a comment saying, "Hey, I'm from Comic Con and I decided to follow you." I thought, well, this way maybe they can be anonymous. And by they, I'm not being politically correct. I mean, there were about 4 people that wanted to follow me. And one of, one of the votes that I put on there was, "I'm the girl that you said you weren't flirting with." And that was meant as kind of a half joke because I'm pretty sure she wasn't one of the people that asked for my socials. At least I don't think she did. If she did, I don't remember. But so far, the post has gotten 4 votes, and 2 of the 4 have been, "I was the girl that you said you weren't flirting with." So if 2 people voted for that, that is very odd. Like, did I say I wasn't flirting with multiple people? Are there people trolling with me? What's going on there? Hello, hey girl. Yes, so glad the webcam is working. How are you doing today? And congratulations on being the first person to show up. I don't remember the last time that happened, so good on you. You'll be listening but not much typing? All right, that's fair. Did you hear what I was saying about the community post and how hilarious that is? That 2 people said, "I am the girl that you said you weren't flirting with at Comic Con." Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, I'm just hoping that that post gains traction and that maybe I'll have more of the Comic Con crowd secretly say, "Yeah, we're here. We're just not wanting to talk." Wait, did someone just unlike the video? I've never heard that happen before. Oh man. Oh man, yeah. Okay, so someone just unliked the stream. That's hilarious. The Comic Con was a blast. The people there were so insanely friendly. Um, like I said, one of them was so friendly I had to convince her that I wasn't flirting because she was like, "Oh my gosh, hon, you were making my day and you're so spectacular." And again, I have encountered girls that are like that before, and I knew that they weren't flirting, but the ones that I knew weren't flirting were the ones that I knew ahead of time to know that they were just the type of girls that like to compliment a lot. This person I literally just met, so I had to cover my bases. My sister says might not have been the best thing to say, but I would have felt really bad if a person got the wrong impression from me being polite. So I'm really happy that I was able to show like 99% of the pictures. Like, I think last time there were quite a lot that I held back because I was worried about people's modesty standards. I'm pretty sure I might have only had to I think I might have only had to, like, censor 1 or 2 this time around. It's a lot of fun to flirt. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I've actually never believed in flirting, not even when I was with my girlfriend. I always thought that if I was, like, attractive to her, it was because I was using my natural personality and not any kind of faking. And so, like, obviously I would, like, say things with a romantic undertone for, like, certain things, but I'm pretty sure I was just as friendly to a lot of my platonic friends as I was to her. Hello, Matthew. Leave it to you to always remember the holidays. I completely forgot. I was sending back my game in the mail, and I was like, oh, that's right. They're not going to come in the mail today. It's not faking. Uh, it can be harmful if the person thinks that you want a relationship and you actually don't. That's where I think I personally would draw the line because I don't like getting people's expectations up. And that's why I don't really like it when people only watch one of my videos and then get mad because I don't make another video like that. Because who knows? It could be a one off. You'd be surprised how many subscribers or how many YouTubers I've come across who I'll watch one video for and then I'll say, oh my gosh, let's see what the rest of the stuff you make. And then the rest of the stuff is just like, it looked like they made it in an afternoon, say among like 100 Let's Plays. And I didn't want to, I didn't want to be that type of person. By the way, happy first ordinary day. Oh, of ordinary time. Yes, that's very true. Good job on checking your liturgical calendar. Well, of course, you don't want to lead people. Yeah, I guess, like, in your definition, what would you consider harmless flirting versus leading people on? Going to Dollywood? What's Dollywood? Or was that a typo? Um, if you're going to Hollywood, that is actually I don't know how to feel about that. I've heard bad things about it. Hopefully it's gotten better. Definitely not a place I'll ever want to go to, but I hope you have an absolute blast while you're there. Hopefully you get to see the backlot where they filmed the Waltons, because that would be like the number one thing I would like to do. Sam Gloves, welcome in. I like gloves too. Your channel is about gloves as well. That's pretty cool. Hey, do you ever review video games that are like, do you ever review video games of characters that wear gloves, like Mario and Sonic and Bubsy if you put on hedgehog mode? Do I have any disposable gloves? Good question. Not that I know of offhand. I used to wear disposable gloves all the time because I was a janitor. So I got used to the feeling of latex quite easily. But glad you could come in. Just curious, how exactly did we meet? Is this a first time you're here, or am I just not recognizing? I would imagine this is probably your first time because I don't remember anyone being so enthusiastic about gloves before. Based on singer Dolly Parton. Oh, okay. A theme park based on a singer? That's pretty wild. I don't think I've ever heard of that before. That is really interesting. I hope that that turns out well. You like to stay and watch the live stream if people wear disposable. Okay. Well, I'll give you one thing that I think you're really going to like. And that's that around, I think it was like 2021, 2022-ish, there was, I had a wart infestation on my left hand. And I would wear a glove on my left hand, or I would close my fist whenever I was making videos with me on the camera. So if you just like look at videos of me in front of the camera, especially if you look through my Myers-Briggs playlist, you'll see a lot of videos where I'm wearing a glove. But then if you watch my best memories of 2022 video, you'll see that I was able to take off the glove now that I'm wart-free because I went to go see the dermatologist and she was great. So sorry to disappoint you that my dermatologist was able to prevent me from being in excruciating pain every 2 weeks. really did a number on my budget too, because I would have to keep missing work because I was in so much pain that I could barely even walk during that time. All right, guys, I'm gonna pause just for a couple of seconds to get my dinner, and then I will be right back. Alrighty, here we go. Alrighty. If you guys can hear me chew, let me know and I will try to be quieter. But for now, I will try my best to have as pleasant of an experience for you guys as possible. Did I get the Wi-Fi extender? Yes, but I didn't get it working yet. So I will I think I have an extension cord somewhere that might help. So the next time I have a free moment because I have to I'd rather not get into the logistics of my house, but let's just say there has to be specific to it. Harmless flirting is, for example, you just wink and make a harmless joke, and he awkwardly jokes back, and both of you crack up and move on with your day. Mm, maybe for girls that's acceptable, but for guys, you do that, and she is absolutely gonna think you're flirting. Like you're talking to someone who lived in the city, so the whole like wholesome, friendly vibe that I have in this current town was not what I was used to. Do I have latex gloves? Not at the moment, but I do have winter gloves. But I forgot what happened to them. I must have mistaken them somewhere. I'm trying to remember if I ever did like outside the box flirting. Um, I guess like sometimes when I was with my ex, I would like I would want to do a lot of romantic stereotypes, and she didn't like my suggestions because, like, for example, there was one time we were having a birthday party, and there was a grassy field that we stopped by, and I had invited three other of my friends along so that they could meet her. And I thought of the stereotype where like the guy and the girl are running through the fields, and then the guy grabs the girl down and she gracefully tumbles beside him, and it's supposed to be this super cute scene. So I did that with her, and the next thing I heard was ow, 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 this grass is so pokey, what the heck, Paul? And then I said, I guess not all cliches are true. And my friends just lost it at that point. One thing my girlfriend and I never did, though, we never went to a movie together. Of course, I probably wouldn't have wanted to, because that's more the thing that my sister and I do. But I would say we were a very atypical couple. Hmm. Well, Sam, the next time I am super desperate for you to join my chat, I will see if I can find those winter gloves and pop them on just as a tribute to you. No promises, though. So, I was so busy getting immersed in stories that I was curious. Do any of you have any? Well, Matthew, you already mentioned you're going to Dollywood. Does anyone else have any super good news or like things you're looking forward to? Mm, that was a good one. I'm saving that one for last. Dang, Sam, you have like unlimited glove puns today. Let me guess. Your favorite video game is Glover. Hmm. As for good news for me, it was pretty quiet at the gym today. That was nice. Bubsy 4D ended up actually being good. For my first Bubsy ever, that's quite high praise because I've heard that series has a reputation for not being good. But like the Demon Tides developers made it, so of course they have quite the pedigree. What am I eating? I just finished some baked beans, then I've got macaroni, and then finally a burger that was grilled. But I took one bite of the burger and I just said, I'm going to eat that last because grilled burgers are so much better than stove made ones. And of course, most of you know that I'm going to the Catholic Creators Conference this Thursday. Thursday through Sunday, I believe. I say believe because I have company coming over on the 31st. So I have to make sure I'm back in time for seeing those people. So it'll all depend on if there's a vigil mass at the place, and if there isn't, then we'll go to the Sunday mass, and then we'll get home on time. But if I'm able to go to this will be the first time ever that someone would recognize me from my YouTube channel in person. Not the first time I've been recognized for something else I did online, though, because that's how I met my friend Danielle. Is she recognized me from a Facebook group that I co-admined, and then we became friends right after that. And now she's one of my best friends, actually. So you never know when you might come across someone that you never expected to just return to your life out of nowhere. And I have so many crazy reunion stories. You guys aren't going to believe it. Hey there, Kevin. Glad you could make it in. How are things going? Got any super amazing news? And did you end up liking Bubsy 4D? Because, spoiler alert, it's good if you haven't watched my review. If you have watched my review, then you will know that I am not a speedrunner, but I'll give myself credit where credit is due. I think I'm decent at it. You're okay? Hey, okay is better than terrible is what I always say to people at the gym. Because you'd be surprised how many people I talk to that just cannot think of anything good going on in their lives. I'll say, do you have any good news? They're like, nope, just same old, same old. And I think to myself, how the heck can you not think of anything good? Like, surely there's something in your life that's like spectacular. Either that or I have a very privileged life, which that's debatable at this point. I would say I've definitely been very behind the times throughout my life. It usually took us quite a while to get the newest things, and it wasn't until the Switch 2 that I actually got a video game system on day one. Thankfully, I pre-ordered it, so that was able to prevent me from having a panic attack the day of. Nothing much really going on in your life. Oh, that's a shame. No, like, oh, hey, I went to Burger King and I got a cool cheeseburger. Nothing at all. I'm pretty sure, like, I think I told you this story before. That, you know how I always ask you guys, hey, do you have any good news? It all started when I was at work, back when I worked as a dishwasher. And I got so tired of asking people how they were doing, and all they'd say is good. Or they'd ask me how I was doing, and when I opened my mouth to talk, they'd walk away because It's just a it became more of a formality than a genuine question. So I said, okay, I'm sick of all this AI nonsense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask people, what is your good news and anything you're excited about, so that people have to say something. And even then, there are people that can't figure it out. Going to get the new Rhythm Heaven game? I'm going to rent it. No way am I buying that game after how much I didn't like Rhythm Heaven on the DS. But I'm willing to give it another try because I haven't played any other game since then. Maybe they've improved. All I know is the touch screen was not very good for timing. Went to the gym. Okay, there you go. There you go. Going to the gym is something to celebrate because it's just the next step in staying healthy. Going through oh, that's right. I do remember you saying that. That's a real shame. Well, I've been through 2 breakups, so if you need someone to talk to, just let me know. I don't talk about the second one as much because it only lasted 4 days. But most people say, Paul, if you were only dating a girl for 4 days, that's not even a real relationship. But I don't know. I find that funny. Haven't smoked in 2 weeks? That is amazing. I don't know how to do celebrations in the chat, but if everyone could just give Hey Girl your support, that would be wonderful. Did my dad make the burger? Nope. Honestly, Hey Girl, I have been praying about that, so I'm glad to hear that my prayers are working. This? Not sure what you mean in context, Kevin. Would you care to elaborate, or am I missing something? Hey, you know what? If that helps you to not smoke, is to rather have a cold, you know what? Maybe that's God's way of helping you out. Gonna eat some steak in a bit. Hey, there's some more. See, you've got good news. You just needed someone to draw it out of you. Another reason why I keep asking people about their good news is because, as you all know, I used to be in depression. I don't remember how long it lasted because it was probably undiagnosed. But I do remember when I got out of it. It was March of 2016. So I have now been depression free for 10 years and 2 months. And what has kept me back from relapsing into depression has always been try to find something, no matter how small it is, that you can look forward to. Even if that something small is, hey, today I go to the gym and I get a special drink. Or, hey, I'm excited to see this person at the gym that's a regular. It doesn't always have to be the gym. I know that's one of my favorite places to be, but it could be as simple as hey, the weather's going to be nice tomorrow, so I can take a walk. Hey, it's almost time for me to sleep because I love sleeping. And I don't know if that works for everyone, but it's definitely worked for me. It's worked for 10 years and 2 months. Hmm. So I completely forgot that it was Memorial Day today. So for those of you that didn't forget, did you do anything fun for the occasion, or is this your Memorial Day? You're like, Paul is our memorial because we're remembering 13 years of him being on YouTube. I don't know. You're off today. Very nice. Very nice. That's great that you could come here and celebrate Memorial Day. I did not do anything particularly special today besides this. I did go to the gym and get myself. Schools are closed. You get to bother me. Oh, that's great. Oh yeah. Yeah, I had a special drink today, and I usually only give myself permission to have that particular drink once a month per my doctor's request. And today was that day where I just said, okay, it's the last Monday of the month. That's when I decided to do it. Hallelujah! Thank you so much for coming. I think you'll be glad to hear, Haley, that I am officially signed up to go to the Catholic Creator Conference. But how are you doing besides the excitement of that conference? Hennessy and Coke? What's Hennessy and Coke? Oh, good. Now I am not good with faces, so you might have to point yourself out when you're there. I've to put this into perspective, how bad I am with faces. I one time actually I think twice. I introduced myself to my sister. In fact, just the other day, she was working on her room, and she was wearing goggles, and I said, "Oh, hello." And then I said her name as like a little bit of a hesitation because I was like, who's this girl wearing goggles in my house? So it like took me a couple of seconds to realize who else would that be? So yes, even though I have seen one of your videos, no guarantees that I will recognize what you look like. You're going to be excited to see me. Oh my gosh, that actually means so much. Oh man, that that kind of blows my mind, honestly, that people would be excited to see me. Like going from a total nobody on YouTube to a total somebody is just, it's a really cool feeling, honestly. Because I remember when I first started my channel, I thought that it would be amazing if I ever surpassed 100 subscribers. And so the fact that I've managed to surpass over 6,000 is kind of cool. But Haley, since you're also going to the Catholic Creators Conference, and if I'm not mistaken, you've been more than I have, um, is there anything that I should be aware of that you really feel like, oh, Paul, if this is something that you really should take advantage of? I have 10 times more than you. Well, I've also been on YouTube since 2013, so I've had time to accrue those numbers. Hennessy is a heavy cognac. Cognac is a heavy alcoholic liquor drink. Yeah, I only really have liquor once a week, which is at Mass, and that's only a sip. And last I checked, no one can get drunk off of just a sip. You've been on since 2019? Okay. Hey, you know what? That's still not half bad. That's about 7 years. I've been on for 13 years, which 7 minus 13, yeah, not half bad. But to be fair, um, even though I technically started, um, YouTube in 2013, I didn't regularly upload until 2016. So there you go. If you want to rib on me, there's your opportunity. Is it a sin for a man to go to the bar but not drinking alcohol? It's going to highly depend on the bar, and it's also going to highly depend on what it is that you're tempted to. Like I would say, like if you're going to like say a strip bar, then I would probably say like no way. But say you're going to a gaming bar or something like that, and then you just get water. I don't think that would probably be a problem. Now, to be fair, I've only been to a bar maybe like once or twice in my life, and neither of those times did I drink alcohol, and I don't remember having any temptations while I was there besides making jokes about all my friends getting drunk and not me. But I would just say figure out what it is that might lead you away from God, and then just don't go near it. But again, I'm not the world's leading expert on bars. I would say maybe if you went to something similar, like a coffee shop or like a restaurant, that might be a good alternative. Because I guess the more important question would be why a bar? Like, why not something similar? Like, is there something about a bar that you particularly are drawn to? Now, this is just me being curious. This isn't me being theological. So you don't have to answer that if you don't want to. Pronounce cognac. Okay. Oh, thank you for the pronunciation guide there, Haley. Yeah, no, you guys know me. I'm always behind the times. So learning about all the different alcohol, learning about all the different cigarettes has always been really hard for me because I tend to not go along with the crowd all that much. Like, I'm pretty sure I've sabotaged my channel a few times because I'll hear all these things about, like, if you do this, then it'll please the algorithm. And I'm just like, yeah, but I don't want to do that. That'll make it feel more like my channel is a machine than it is a byproduct of humanity. Now, I haven't read Pope Leo's encyclical on AI just yet. So maybe I'm missing something in there. But as far as my own personal opinion, I would say that I really want to this channel to feel like it's 100% human. And if I accidentally have an AI thumbnail, it's a coincidence, a complete coincidence. Like a regular bar, and the intention is just to socialize. I'd say that's probably fine as long as it has a good reputation. I know there are definitely people who go to the bar for sexual favors, but I don't think that's necessarily a sin if you say no. But if you feel like you're the type that would be easily influenced, then that would be the kind of situation where you'd recall Jesus's words where he said, if something causes you to sin, then pluck it out, like that Bible verse. But in a manner of speaking, or I should say, generally speaking, what makes a sin is that somehow you made a choice. If you do anything on accident, I would say that you can't really classify that as a sin, because sin, by definition, is something that breaks apart our relationship with God. Now, if it's a venial sin, it weakens it, but if it's a mortal sin, it completely destroys our relationship with God. But again, there has to be an element of choice in order for it to constitute as a sin. So if you just stumble into something, that's not really your fault. My me is exactly like me on your island. Thank you so much, Lodo. An adventure. you know? I do like adventure games. My favorite video game is Tears of the Kingdom. So good thinking, Lodo. Now I'm really excited to see that picture. You have my email, so looking forward to that. Welcome in. Got any other good news besides that? Oh, and without spoiling anything, how's your progress going in 999? Hello there, Tradcath Matthew. I know I don't need to say the Tradcath part, but we have another Matthew in chat, so I want to differentiate you guys. Your uncle is independent Baptist. They take the King James version literally. Now I only have one eye. Oh my gosh. That is, if you're being serious, that is morbid. But if you're not being serious, then that is a real shame. That people would people don't seem to realize that the Hebrew language is full of so much hyperbole. But yeah, that's why we Catholics, there's a stigma that Catholics don't like reading the Bible on their own, and it's not technically prohibited. It's just that it's discouraged to try to find your own interpretation of the Bible verses rather than looking at what the collective teaching of Jesus and the apostles was. You saw Mortal Kombat 2, very good film, lots of action. Honestly, gore depends on the context. Usually, if I'm like playing a cheesy game, like say Zero Escape, then the gore doesn't typically bother me all that much. Unless if there's a certain unless if there's a certain type of violence, but I won't say that because usually when I do, even my best friends will start talking about it more and then make me more uncomfortable. A lot of pictures of me. Oh wow. Oh cool. Hey, you know what? You're talking to some guy that still uses a flip phone for things, so don't feel too bad. Close to the end of 999, go ahead and send you the guide. Okay. All right, will do. I will send it to you as soon as this stream is done. Romans 16:16 makes family gatherings very awkward. I don't know. Actually, I'll look that up right now so that I'll stop pretending. I shouldn't say pretending. I'll stop being a typical Catholic and actually know a Bible verse. I do know John 15:13 though. Greet one another with a holy kiss. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see why that would be inaccurate. See, that's the thing that we Catholics believe in terms of the magisterium, because obviously the magisterium doesn't invent Catholicism. Like when Pope Leo wrote his encyclical about AI, he wasn't just making up stuff. He was taking what Jesus and his disciples already taught and applying it to the present age. So people just don't go around kissing each other in a platonic setting anymore. So the Catholic Church would say the context of that is just treat everyone with human dignity. Like, smile at people, say hi to them. Don't just put your head down and pretend that you hate the world like I see. That's why I'm not the most outgoing person in the world. I know it seems like it, but that's because the rest of you are typing and I'm talking. But generally speaking, it's very hard for me to approach people. But I try my best to at least smile at everyone so that they don't think that I hate them. And every now and then, just saying hello has led to some of the best conversations I've ever had. Isaiah 43:2. You guys are getting me curious now. Let's see what that one says. Isaiah 43:2. All right. God is with his people through trials. Sorry, that's a summary. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. If you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flame, you know, that verse, that verse is particularly prominent for me because I used to be afraid of the water, and I remember when I was trying to get over my fear, the song that I listened to quite a lot was "Oceans" by I think Hillsong wrote it, and now I'm fully over my fear of the water. So much so that now I actually try to persuade my friends to go swimming more often. And thankfully, when it's warm outside, there's actually a lake within walking distance of my house that is family friendly. So, like, lots and lots of families are there. And so, also because I live in a small country town, the little kids have no sense of stranger danger. And again, I've said this before, but for those of you that maybe don't come to these streams as much, the amount of times I've had little girls be like, "Hi, I'm 7. Wanna be my best friend?" Just out of nowhere. I'm literally just sitting there. Is so adorable. And again, not something you would hear in the city where kids are taught to be distrustful, especially of men. Since you're over your fear, would you go to the beach? Um, I'd go to the well, my dermatologist has said that I have to be careful about how much sun exposure I have because I'm more easily susceptible to sun diseases than most people because of the medication that I'm on. So I would say that the beach would probably be one of my lower priorities just because if the sand is really hot, then I wouldn't want to burn my feet like I did when I went to go visit Isabel the second time and we went to a water park near her and my feet were killing me the whole time. Admittedly, it wasn't sand, but sand can get pretty darn close to cement. So I would say probably not. But I would go to the lake because typically sand on a lake isn't as bad because there's at least a couple of branches overhead that give some shade. But I think overall, I would probably rather go to an indoor water park as like my go-to swimming place. Mainly because there I wouldn't have the fear of sunburn or anything like that. You know, the older I get, the more I've started to not like memes, but that one is all right. Mainly because it's so true. I also hate sand. Um, my niece really likes sand, and she always tries to get me to play with her, and I'm always just like, "Girl, that's mud. That's not sand. I hate getting messy." So you can tell she's definitely more like her dad than my dad, because my dad does not like getting messy either. So that's where I get it from. It is really cute that both of my brothers now have kids. And whenever like all the kids are together, you can always tell which ones are my one brother's kids and which ones are the other because you can clearly like a lot of them tend how do I word this? Like my one brother married a girl that has really, really curly hair. My other brother married a girl that has really, really straight hair. And so my one brother's kids' heads are like practically afros with curls. Then the other ones have like pin straight hair. And the other ones are like all blondes and then the other brothers are like brown hair cuz my brother has brown hair. So they took on his hairstyle or his hair color, but his wife's hairstyle. Fear is crabs. I don't think there's ever been a crab at the lake that I've been to, but honestly, I would honestly fear that as well. There's a part of me that kind of fears going to the lake near my house, but at the same time, you could make an excuse to be afraid of anything. And as someone who is very prone to paranoia, it is essential for me to try to take at least some risks in life. Eat donuts with a fork? Can't say I do that. I'll give you that much. Yeah, for most of my life, I've hated stuff that would get my hands or anything of me messy. Like I didn't really like glitter glue. I think I finger painted a little bit when I was really little, but it didn't last very long. And then I eventually just was like, ew, don't get paint all over me. Mission trip, I consider it the exception because it's like, okay, you're supposed to be suffering for the sake of helping out the community. But it's certainly not something I would do unless if someone really needed the help. Like if, for example, if my sister just said something like, "Man, pal, I am so bored of having yellow walls. I want blue walls." I'd be like, "You're seriously going to have me get messy just because you don't like aesthetics?" Like, I am very much a practicality over aesthetics type of guy. Like, I will wear the ugliest shirt in the world if it's comfortable, to put that into perspective. Have I seen that one guy named, that's a lot of straight lines. I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce that. Who put 3,600 on Bubsy 3D? He discovered all kinds of glitches. You're talking to the man who is very behind on modern culture. So if he's the type of person that does a whole lot of memes, probably haven't heard of him. So go ahead. If you want to talk about this person, go for it. Seeing as I just reviewed Bubsy 4D, I'd be curious to discover how much worse Bubsy 3D is. Is that an ISTJ thing? I would say it's more of a sensor thing in general. Is sensors tend, well, okay, let me break this down. And for the rest of you that don't know Myers-Briggs, feel free to interrupt with whatever else you want to say. I can talk about two things at once. Like, I can go back and forth between you and Hey Girl's comments. Introverted sensing types are going to want practicality, especially if they're SJs. So, like, what is going to get the job done and what is comfortable. People with extroverted sensing, which are the NJs and SPs, are going to want some kind of either engaging the senses or something that's very fashionable. So, like, usually those types will want like nice suits and the best dresses. And then you get people like me who's just like, just pull on a sweater and call it a day because it's more comfortable, more affordable, and more practical. You saw my review. Too bad for a short game, it's a pretty enjoyable one whenever you're not shooting through cannons and racing the clock. For 20, yeah, I think $20 is a bit steep for a game with only 12 level. 13 if you count the VR simulation level, but I forgot about that when I reviewed it because it was a tutorial level. And I try not to like include tutorials in my games or in my reviews because I figure that's too boring for the audience. Ever since my friends Danielle and Matt started watching my end of year videos, I started thinking really hard about trying to curate my footage more so that it's visually and in terms of the gameplay as appealing as possible, so that like when people see it, they can say that is genuinely cool to watch in motion, as opposed to just, hey, it's level 1, let's just play through it. You are typed as an ISTJ, but neat and nice clothes are important. Okay, so the thing about ISTJs is that they like what they consider to be traditional. So it's really all going to depend on the individual because they have introverted sensing, meaning personal. Extroverted sensors, being extroverted, meaning other people oriented, are going to think like, what is everyone else wearing? What is considered the trendy thing here? So I would say SPs and NJs are more likely to follow traditions in the communal sense. Like, typically, you don't get a whole lot of SJs and NPs wishing you happy holidays, for example, because unless if they personally have something to gain out of it, like, I don't know, say an SJ was born on a holiday, they might remember it more. Or say, I don't know, they met their best friend on a holiday. They'll care more about what happened on the holiday than the holiday itself. Like, whenever, for me, for example, whenever I think of the 4th of July, the absolute first thing that pops into my head is, oh, that was the day of my first mission trip. I don't think about fireworks. I don't think about the war on independence. I don't think about any of that stuff. I think about the mission trip because introverted sensing, recalling personal sensations and personal traditions first and foremost. You might not have had the same 4th of July as me, and that's totally cool. But if you were there on July 4th, then that is probably something that we are going to talk about. Is I'm just going to say, do you remember what we did together on July 4th? And then we'll have a contest to see who remembers it more. And typically I win because that day was just so important to me that even though I would say I generally have a good memory, I feel like I have a really good memory of July 4th. All right. Does that answer your question, hey girl? Because if not, I want to make sure no one else feels left out. But again, like I said, I can talk about multiple things at once. So you guys feel free to interrupt as much as you want. So Lodo, since you watched my review, what did you think about the joke that I made about Bubsy actually being better than Yoshi? Because if you watched my Yoshi review, you might know that I wasn't too thrilled with that game. And this is coming from someone whose game of the year in 2015 was Yoshi's Woolly World. I may not like most Yoshi games, but that one was exceptional. But yeah, no, my track record with Yoshi games is otherwise pretty bad. Like, I recently replayed Yoshi's Story, didn't like that one. I played Yoshi's Island a little bit on the Super Nintendo, never finished it. But then I tried playing it again on the GBA, and um I finished it, but I didn't like it. My me is a role. I hope you made me heterosexual because I'd feel very uncomfortable if my character was gay or bisexual. Because that's why when I was making my review, I was very careful not to make any of the me's based on real people because I didn't want there to be any sense of bullying or making people feel uncomfortable by the situations the people put them in. And you might be thinking, oh, Paul, in your review, you had so many me's that had ordinary names like Sarah and Arya. It's because they were characters from my novels. There were also, here's a bit of fun fact for you. Let me answer Treadclaff Matthews' question. Yes, Bubsy 40 was amazing. Um, Past Yoshi games all seem so samey. Oh yeah, no, I think it's the popular consensus is people either think Woolly Worlds is the best or Yoshi's Island is the best. There's typically no contest with any of the other ones. But what was I saying? There were a couple of me's that weren't based on my novels, but they weren't based on real people either. They were based on concepts that I thought would be really fun to explore. Now, I don't remember if these were in my review or not, because I also have like separate footage that I captured for the end of year video, because I don't like just copying and pasting review footage. I like people to have something new to watch. There's a girl named Catherine on my island who was based on like what would I be like if I was a woman instead of a man. So it's kind of like a bit of a what if there. And then Maria technically is based on a real person, but the reason why I got away with that is because she's another what if character because I have 6 miscarried siblings. And there are times when I regret being the oldest one in my family, and I know that I have at least 2 siblings that are older than me. So I thought to myself, well, what if she didn't get miscarried? What would she be like? So I created the Maria me on my island as a way of like seeing like, okay, let's say this person was my sister. Like, what would she be like based on the genetics of my parents and how me and my siblings have turned out? And like, what would we all have in common? Where we differ? Just trying to figure all that out. I thought, I'm not trying to downplay anyone else's creativity, but I haven't noticed anyone like try to make me's based on concepts. They've all done like me's based on their favorite anime or their favorite books or on their family members or pets. So I wanted to do something that I felt like only I would do. Mater Maria. So it's a bit of a complicated answer because again they were miscarried. But I'm pretty sure at one point my parents did want a girl named Maria. That was almost my they're all my actual siblings. My sister that wasn't miscarried, she was almost named Maria. but I have two brothers who both have M at the start of their names, and my mom just said, "I have dyslexia. No way am I gonna have 3 kids with the letter M in their name." So that's how I ended up with a sister not named Maria. But I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure one of my older sisters was going to be named Maria at some point. And so I just took a wild guess and I just said, I think this is her name, so let's go for it. But no, like I said, didn't want to base anyone off of real people. So no me is based on Jesus or Mary or any of my friends. And if you happen to share a name with a me on my island and that me is pretty similar to your personality, um, total coincidence. Although, I will say though, again, I don't remember if I put this in the review or not, but there is a slight reference to a real person in the Me of Claire, but it's so innocuous that I bet the real Claire, I bet she doesn't even remember that I exist at this point, but um the Claire me that I have likes to play soccer. And when I was writing my novel, I based the character Claire off of the appearance of a real girl named Claire that I played soccer with at my homeschooling group. But I made the personality completely unique. So only the looks and the fact that they both played soccer were carried over. Me uses he, him, and his, better say his in there, and his hetero. Okay, cool. Very nice. My other 11 me's are from games you might have to rephrase that last one. I think I misunderstood you. Other 11 me's are from games. Oh, I am the okay, gotcha. Gotcha. I am the only real person. Okay. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, that's a decent enough compromise. I know on my island I made everyone asexual cuz I don't really like shipping in video games, if I'm being honest. Even Doki Doki Literature Club. Since that game is so satirical, that's why it's like the only dating sim that I actually enjoy. The only me based on a real person. That's good. Um, the funny thing about pronouns is that I don't actually like giving out my pronouns. And I know for someone who doesn't like political correctness, you'd think that you would like shove pronouns at people. You'd be like, okay, God made me a man, so therefore call me by he, him, his. But I don't like doing that. One, or why? Because it trivializes the whole temple of the Holy Spirit aspect of gender. So what I do instead is if people say, "What are your pronouns?" I say, "I am a man," so that I emphasize the fact that I am made in the image and likeness of God, and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ chose to be in the form of a man. I remember even when I was going through a lot of body negativity and like hating my gender and all that stuff, the one thing that would give me solace is I'd say, at least Jesus understands. They say he was like us in all things except sin. So he probably, heck, he most likely would have gone through every single struggle an actual guy would have. Yeah. Unless if there's something specific to guys older than 33. Yeah, maybe like he wouldn't have gotten a beer belly. Yeah, probably not that, but like he would have gone through puberty the same as me and like all the various like, oh no, this is starting to happen. He would have gone through all that too. And so this emphasis on humanity and God's design rather than my choice is something that I like to tell people. Thankfully, I've maybe only had like 3 people ever ask me for my pronouns, but when they did, it would always be based off of not knowing me. Like people that know me in person have no question about my gender. But sometimes, like, say I'm at the grocery store and it's cold outside and I have my hood on. No, you can keep the me. That's totally fine. Um, as long as I'm not doing anything immoral, then I'm cool with that. Honestly, I kinda like the fact that you have my me on your island. I feel very honored by that. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was my suggestion. Wouldn't suggest something if I wasn't comfortable with it. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, like, say I have my hood on, and you can only see my hair, like, slightly poking out of the hood, and maybe, like, the hood is, like, putting a little bit of a shadow over my face. You can't see, like, the male jawline or something like that. Then I could see if I just say hi to someone without having an extended conversation, maybe they could think that that's a woman's voice, which is hilarious because the amount of times I've been misgendered over the phone, even when I say my name is Paul, is just hilarious. And I never correct them because I like the thrill of seeing how long it'll take for them to realize I said my name is Paul, not Pauline, not Paulette, not Paula, Paul. The brightness went up. What? I didn't even know that was a thing. Must have been on your end because nothing changed for me. Yeah, no, I've had my computer plugged in this whole time. Oh, on your phone. Okay. You scared me for a minute there. Did I wanted to make sure I wasn't scaring you guys away. Get this, guys. I have even been misgendered at the lake with a swimsuit on and everything. So, in all this progressive era, people still use gender stereotypes for everything instead of scientific facts. Like, at the lake, yes, at the lake. To be fair, it was little kids, but you'd think they'd at least know somewhat about basic biology. But yeah, I remember there was one time, um, no worries, hey girl, I get it. Um, there was one time I went to the house of a friend of mine who hadn't seen me in a couple of years. And I got the most bizarre comment I've ever gotten from an adult. Because people would like say all the usual stuff, like, oh my gosh, you've changed so much. Because, they always say that when you're like a teenager, like, oh, you've grown. Oh, your voice has changed, all that usual nonsense. This particular woman said something I've never heard before or since. She said, wow, your shoulders have gotten so broad. And that cracks me up because that is very much a cisgender male puberty occurrence. Like, obviously, women can have broad shoulders, but that's not, like, strictly speaking, a thing that's like a female puberty, like, thing that happens. It's more so of like an innate, like, if women have broad shoulders, it's like their genetics rather than like their shoulders start broadening during puberty. So that person got it. At, at first, you thought I was a female faced. No, Isabel only did the skit where she dressed up as Pauline. But we really sound that similar. I always thought that was a joke. But you know what? You're not the first person that thought that Isabel and I were related or like alike in some way. Because I remember the most recent time Isabel came to visit me, which I think was last month. I went swimming with her and her sister. And this woman came up to the three of us as we were drying off. And she said, by any chance are the three of you related? And I said, those two are, but I'm not. So then I spoke to her and her sister and I just said, do we really look that much alike? And Isabella was like, well, I guess our hair length is pretty similar. Even though I personally think Isabel and I are pretty much total opposites. Like, we have very, very little in common. But I would say the one thing that we do have in common is probably why we're such good friends. And that's we're both almost identical in terms of morality. If you were to play Tomodachi Life, you'd make a me of yourself and a gender swap version. Honestly, that sounds kind of funny. I have joked around about that in the past. That like, if I were to ever get married, I'd marry someone who's just me but female. But as I've gotten older, I've come to realize that that would actually be a nightmare because the thing about people with my personality type is they're very particular about their routines and about their traditions. So if they had a certain way of doing things that was different from how I did things, neither one of us would be willing to budge when it came time to like, okay, we've got to compromise somewhere or we're not going to get anywhere. I tend to be drawn towards people that are the opposite of me, which are like klutzes and forgetful people, and to a certain extent, disloyal people. I tend to be drawn to. Like some of my best friends are some of the clumsiest people ever, like the people that trip over their own feet. And then you get people like me who, I have my clumsy moments, but they're like maybe once or twice a month. Whereas for them, it's more like once or twice every 3 days. And when I met Abby Trott at Comic Con, I remember when she said that she was a klutz because we were talking about Annette from Fire Emblem Three Houses, and she's a clumsy girl. I just said, "Oh, I tend to be really drawn to klutzes," but I think Abby misunderstood me, and she said, "Oh yeah, you and I would probably be bumping into furniture together." And I said, "No, no, I am a very observant person. I'm just drawn to opposites." Because I pointed out that there were 2 posters, though technically there were 3 posters of her, and 2 of the 3 were the same picture, just mirrored. And I'm pretty sure either she or the girl behind me said like, "Oh, wow, you noticed that. That's pretty darn cool." And if you watch my video about Comic Con, you can see the picture of me and Abby. And she was really cool. I honestly was very, very happy that I got to meet her. She even get and the selfie was free too, which I was very happy about because that is by far the cheapest selfie I've ever gotten at Comic Con if you don't count the cosplayers. Because usually you have to pay at least $20 for most of the celebrities. Stephanie Shea, I only had to pay $10 for, but I'm pretty sure it was because she was wearing a mask, and that by default makes it cheaper because you're not getting the smile. But if Time Jester Jevil was here, I bet he'd get a real kick out of that. Because every time he's here, he always makes a Mekon joke. And I can say, hey, I met the actress that played Mekon before you did. Like, what kind of timeline are we living in here, guys? But yeah, I'm honestly kind of surprised that I liked Tomodachi Life because I didn't like the 3DS version all that much. It was fun for like maybe a week. But then once I started seeing the repetitious conversations and there really wasn't a goal to work toward, I just said, okay, this is stupid. And I also didn't like how it was kind of, it was too easy to create fantasies of like, how do I word this? Technically, this is also true in Living the Dream, but they give you more restrictions. Like, it would be super easy to like say make a real person and then like live out say a romantic fantasy, and in Living the Dream they have more options to combat that. Like you can say who you're related to. That might have been in the 3DS version, someone correct me if I'm wrong. You can even like change your romantic preferences to be asexual, which I don't think that was a thing in the originals as far as I could tell. But I will say, credit where credit is due to the 3DS version. I miss the concert hall. I really miss that because I was able to like take actual songs that I wrote and see how the Mii's would sing them. And you'd be surprised by how often it was actually pretty accurate to the song. Um, I wish I had videotaped that. But I remember I wrote a song called The Great Embrace and I made the Mii's sing it. And I regret doing that because that's a very holy song that's meant to be singing about Jesus, and the Mii's were like dancing in such a way that didn't feel particularly reverent. But the fact that I could do it was incredible for a 3DS title, and it's by far the biggest disappointment I have with this new version over the 3DS one. But I would say that in general, I think Living the Dream is the better game for me personally because I'm a journey over the destination type of guy, as should be clear to all of you by now. Um, so if I don't have to work for something, I am going to get easily bored, which is why Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was kind of a massive letdown for me personally because you get everything right away except for yeah, Gold Mario you can unlock, but that's just a skin. To be fair, when I did unlock Gold Mario, I felt great because I was like, you have to be really good at the game to get that. But everything else was just like, oh, collect a bunch of coins and you get a vehicle part. Woo, that doesn't even feel like anything. Can you still make me say inappropriate and important things? Yes, you can. But if you make them say innocent things, it can be a great way, especially if you're like me where you have a YouTube channel, of getting people to know some things that you like and start conversations. Like most of my audience is very shy, so unfortunately I don't get a whole lot of conversations around it, but I've made my Mies say things like "You're a wizard, Harry," hoping that people would say, "Oh, you like Harry Potter? Cool." Monokuma was one of the things I said so that people would ask me about Danganronpa. I had Joker say that he was a phantom thief, so that people would ask about Persona 5. I remember Lodo, you were particularly thrilled with that one. And the very same day that I recorded that scene was the day that they had the Phantom Thief attire in the store. They even called it that. It was called the Phantom Thief outfit. And I was like, I can't believe a first party Nintendo game that isn't Smash Brothers was able to get away with referencing Persona 5. Like, insane times we live in. But yeah, I think the worst thing my Mies said was "Have a nice tragedy," which which is a reference to Virtue's Last Reward, but I don't think that's much of a spoiler because it happens. I think within the first couple of minutes of the game starting that you hear that. One of your Mies became friends with my Mii. Little Caesar's Pizza. That's my favorite kind of pizza. Did you do that on purpose, or is that just a really crazy coincidence? Because I like all kinds of pizza, but Little Caesars is just like the absolute best in my opinion. And from what I've heard, that's a very unpopular opinion too. Then again, I'm the king of unpopular opinions. I'm not good at following trends, nor do I like to. Oh, that's great. Oh, that is phenomenal. Oh, man. Yeah, no, I'm really glad that you were able to make my me on your island. That's super cool that my traditions can live on someone else's Switch. You had a coworker who made a face when you said you Yeah. Yeah, I know a couple of people who are like, "Why do you like Little Caesars better than all these other pizza places?" And I say, "'Cause their pizza tastes like chicken." And I've been told that I think everything tastes like chicken. So take with that what you will. Yeah, yeah, it is pretty cheap. I haven't been there in quite a while, so I wouldn't be able to tell you what the prices were, but I remember at my old house, it was $5 for an entire pizza, which I thought was an absolute steal, considering that at my first job, because I worked at a college, so I would eat at the school cafeteria, they charged $3 for one slice of pizza. So $3 for one slice versus $5 for a whole pizza. You can tell which one I preferred. And the pizza at the college wasn't even that great. It was just like, well, you know what? I gotta eat something because I'm gonna need my strength for the rest of this shift. Hmm. What was I gonna say? I lost it. So If you guys have something you wanna bring up, now's the time while I try to remember, what I was gonna say. Because, like I said, I get easily distracted. Maybe I've watched too much Ty the One Up Guy, because he gets easily distracted too, probably way worse than I do, but still, like, the amount of times I'll be watching a YouTube video and then I would, say, "Oh, you know what? I just had an idea," and then go and download another YouTube video and then start working on a project, like, I didn't used to be like that, but ever since I've met friends who are easily distracted, I think I took on some of their traits. Happy Memorial Day. It's a happy day. That's what I'll say. I don't really celebrate national holidays all that much. If anything, I kind of don't like them because it prevents me from getting the mail. So when I'm expecting a game from GameFly, I'm just like, darn it, I gotta wait an extra day. But I'm glad that the people who are able to take off of work are able to have some time to relax. You saw my interview with my friend. Very nice. Oh, that makes me so happy because you know me. You give me a reason to talk about Mission Trip, and I will run for it. You would have celebrated too when that trumpet went missing. If only I was good at singing. I can still remember the melody. I just don't know what it's called. It's just this very victorious piece that I think is public domain. But again, when you're hearing it, I think it was like 5 in the morning that he played that trumpet, and we weren't supposed to get up until I think like 6. It was it was miserable. So I remember when Thursday came, and the staff members said, "We're gonna let you guys sleep in because Friday is your free day, so you don't have working." I'm pretty sure the collective thought going through everyone's minds were that trumpet guy better not mess this up because we've been getting up way too early for like 4 days straight. We need our sleep. And we got it. And that's why we all cheered. Your favorite Confederate general is Alfred Mouton because he is Acadian and Catholic. I did not know that, but then again, history was not one of my best subjects in school. I was more of a reading and science were my two biggest subjects, I would say. I mean, that should be a surprise to none of you by now. Yo, it's Noah! Even with a Mario reference, it's a me, Noah! Woohoo! Glad you could make it, Noah. How are you doing lately? Your mate and you made a toast to Robert E. Lee. Got some games waiting for you too. You bought RZ. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I love RZ. As you know, that was my number 2 game of 2024. Along with Tamba 2, Ruffy, Shantae Advance, 8-Bit Adventure 2. Haven't played any of those, but Shantae Advance is just so cool in concept because it took a canceled Game Boy Advance game and then committed to actually putting it on the Game Boy Advance. You were Mario for Halloween last time. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. That's amazing. Going on a flight to visit your family. Well, hopefully this stream doesn't mess up with your plans. Well, you answered my question about any good news, so good on you for that. So Noah, I was thinking about you yesterday when I posted my latest video. And that's that I made a joke at the very beginning of my Bubsy 4D review where I said, you know, we're in a weird timeline when a Bubsy game and a Yoshi game came out in the same year, and I prefer the Bubsy one. What did you think of that joke? Because I'm pretty sure that's what I said word for word. So even if you haven't watched the video, I've thank you. I'm glad you thought it was funny. I've been trying to get more into doing like unique intros for my videos. It's it's really hard to do because I don't have the best filming setup. But I do have a couple of ideas for some upcoming reviews that I want to how do I word this? I want to try to like make people laugh before they even get started with the review, so they can kind of get a little bit of a glimpse of my sense of humor. Because a lot of times, if something appeals to my humor, that makes or breaks the game for me. Like Stanley Parable, like 99% of the reason that was number 2 in 2022 was because the narrator is just the funniest person I have ever seen, like, anywhere. I don't think I've ever played or watched something funnier than Stanley Parable. You agree you only like the Wii Yoshi? I also liked Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World, which technically I played that first. I even 100%ed that version, and it was a blast all the way through. Love the music, love the amiibo costumes, the fact that you have Fire Emblem themed costumes. You know me, I'm always happy to have Fire Emblem representation. The Mega Yarn Yoshi, I didn't even have that, and I was an amiibo collector for a while. I think it was the green and the blue Yarn Yoshis, but never the Mega one. You waited outside of Toys R Us for it. That is some dedication. I remember when I was an amiibo collector, one of my best friends for collecting amiibos was Disc Replay. They would have like some of the rarest amiibos, and I was able to get them for I think like $50 was the most I paid, which I know, looking back, I was an idiot, but it was a lot of fun to be able to have all this memorabilia of games that I liked that also had a practical application in games, because back then Nintendo actually cared about utilizing their amiibos. Real high school is nothing like Persona. I never went to high school, so you'll have to let me know how accurate Persona is. There was a pink one too. Camping outside for amiibos, I don't even have the bravery to camp outside just normally. So you got me beat there, Loto. Sorry, neighbor knocked on your door to move a car right when I was asking you about Bubsy. Man, what timing. But yeah, no, I loved the new Bubsy game. It's also the first Bubsy game I've played, which, to be fair, um, considering its reputation, I'm not really that surprised that that would be my introduction to the series. But all it really took to get me interested was I'm trying to remember. I think I just remember thinking like, okay, someone's actually trying to make a good Bubsy game, and I think I also heard that like the Demon Turf guys are behind it. And I remember Ty the One Up guy did a sponsored video where he did a review of Demon Tides, and he actually convinced me to give the game a try. The problem, not on Switch yet, so the waiting game. You did it for the SNES Mini too. You know, I almost didn't get one, but I just barely got to GameStop in time to get the last one. And I ended up giving it away because I have since learned that I do not like the Super Nintendo. Except for Star Fox and Star Fox 2. Those are like the only 2 games that I like on that system. Everything else is just the controls are weird, the music is weird. Just it just feels like a very unpolished system from the perspective of someone who primarily played on the Nintendo 64 and the PC back then. It's like cosplaying as Ford from Gravity Falls, but it's a Yoshi game. I have never seen Gravity Falls, or at least if I have, I don't remember much about it. So you might have to clue me in as to the reference there. But it's a Yoshi game. I'll give Mysterious Book this. It got me thinking about the lore implications of that game. But then I looked up online, like, was that actually a bombshell reveal? And it turns out that the whole thing was just a joke. So I felt so bad about that because it was like the one thing that was like really making me hooked ended up just being a gag. Ford is the author of the journals, and the journals record different things about mysterious creatures in Gravity Falls. Haven't finished yet. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha, yeah. Um I think you'll like the finale. I will admit it was pretty decent. Not terrific, but it was better than everything else I had seen in the game. Uh, what was I gonna say? Again, easily distracted. uh, oh, so for those of you that joined late, I wanted to catch you guys up on what you missed at the beginning of the stream. So I made earlier today, I made a community poll because I was curious how many people from Comic Con actually followed through with following my YouTube channel. And I like to have poll options so that if people don't want to type out a comment, then they can just vote and then they can be completely anonymous. Because I figured, okay, maybe they did follow through on following my channel, but they just didn't feel like commenting. I mean, I have over 6,000 subscribers, but getting comments is like pulling teeth on this channel. Like, you would think people would want to talk. It looks like there were five? I only told that to one. So either there were a bunch of trolls or that's hilarious. Wait, how do you know it was 5 people? Because on my end, it just looks like percentages. Or are you just really good at math? They may just be a casual viewer. Viewers like us who comment are rare. Possibly, but they haven't given any indication that they haven't given any indication that yeah, I don't know, but either way, one of the options was actually I'll just say all of the options. One was yes, I was at Comic-Con. Actually, I'll just pull it up right now. Because I don't know why I'm forgetting my own options. I just the last option just cracks me up. All right. Pulling it up here. Okay. So the votes are so there's 5 votes altogether. Yes, I was at Comic-Con with you. I'm a silent observer. Yes, I was at Comic-Con with you, but just haven't said anything. No votes on either of those. Not from Comic-Con. Super glad folks were so friendly. 60%. I'm the girl that you told you weren't flirting with. Like I said, I only told that to one. So either one must be a troll or they're both a troll. Or it's a girl that I told that to in the past, but they just didn't get that this was supposed to be based off of Comic-Con. But yeah, just the idea that it could be, it could be, it's too funny of an option to resist. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've definitely had my fair share of comments that either feel like trolls made them or AI generated them. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was either one. But the possibility that it could be that that one girl voted on that is just, it's too funny. And obviously in heaven all will be revealed. So assuming that she's in a state of grace at her death, I can say, did you end up voting on my poll? Honestly, there's probably a lot more things I'd like to ask her than that. Pope Leo's encyclical. Oh, it was finally the one about AI. 3 hours to read an encyclical? My gosh, is that guy an informative type or something? Like, I would think, like, when you're teaching about the faith, you want to keep it relatively concise, because otherwise, people nowadays have a terrible attention span. Let me pull that up. Pope Leo's encyclical, because I kind of want to read that too. Especially if he's reinforcing Magnifica Humanitas. Okay. Nice to know. Let me type that in. I think I found it. Oh, here we go. United States Conference of Bishops. Yeah. Okay. Much better. All right, let's see what I missed. Reading slowly. Okay, gotcha. But I would recommend reading at the very least the conclusion section. There's an introduction, five chapters just to talk about AI. He probably is an informative person then. It's on the Vatican's official website. Okay. Okay. Okay, found a link. Okay, we will get to that. It also serves as a primer on the church's okay. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, my personal, and again, I haven't read it yet, but my personal guess as to what he's going to say is something along the lines of God made humans in the image and likeness of God and not machines. So therefore, it's important for humans to use their God-given gifts to create. I remember I went on a retreat in 2024, I believe. And one of the keynote speeches was that what sets us apart from animals is that we have been given a unique role to be able to create something entirely new to revolutionize the world, almost as if the creation was happening again. Like, animals might make stuff, like they might make a nest or an anthill, but like that's instinctual and it's not really revolutionary. But humans can like invent stuff like the car and video games and the typewriter, things that like almost as if like God had said like let there be light. And so that is one of many not talked about reasons why we're made in the image and likeness of God, is that we can also create like God can. And if we're letting machines do that for us, then it's taking away our dignity as creators. I'm not wrong? Oh, good. He talks about the importance of human dignity and that AI should always serve us and not us it. I'm not sure what that means. You might have to rephrase that. Because I was not aware that humans could serve AI. Yes, consciousness. That's true as well. We have the consciousness, yes, and free will. Yep. Yep. But here's what people don't realize about the whole like we are made in the image and likeness of God statement is they'll quote the whole like likeness of God part pretty accurately. They'll say like, well, humans have the ability to distinguish between right and wrong. And so that's the rational part of God's brain speaking, which yes, that's true. But what does it mean to be made in the image of God? And this may sound like a disgusting answer, but honestly, the way humans are made to procreate is very unique compared to how the animals do it. And as a result, human sexual activity is consensual, whereas in the animal kingdom, it's usually instinctual, and it's typically also um, like very painful and very forced. And when we humans have sexual relations, it's meant to be a sign of love rather than a necessity, like how the animals see it. Um, AI should serve us and not serve, meaning AI should be used to benefit us and not exploit humans to make AI advances. Right now, there are poorly paid people who do content labeling to train AI. That's a shame. People deserve their wages. As it says in the Bible, the laborer deserves his wages. Are clones made in the image of God? I haven't done enough research on clones to know how that works. But I would probably say not, just out of sheer guesswork. Oh, good, you read my mind. Yeah. Okay, yeah. God is the Trinitarian love is able to be reciprocated in human sex. And you can't really get that form of not only the love of the Trinity, but the physicality of it. Of they are like three persons in one, and we are two persons becoming one flesh by our choice. And so when people do stuff like rape and incest and adultery, it is giving into the animal side of things and making a distortion of the holiness that we were created for. Cloning, IVF, and fornication are wrong, but the people that are conceived as a result of it are still fully human, equal to us. Okay. Um, yeah, that's why they always say, don't ever put blame on the baby for anything that happens, or in this case, a fully grown person. But yeah, that is something very disturbing about abortion. Is that the adults make the mistake and it's the baby who suffers. Technically, there's been research that say that like both the man and the woman also suffer. I haven't done enough research as to the particulars, but there are some stuff both emotionally and physically that the body goes through after an abortion that like has caused enough women to go on these pro-life campaigns and have a sign that say I regret my abortion. And like, I mean, I've always been a pro-life advocate, but then you get that element of it and then it just reinforced my point even more. But I know I usually have my glass, but I have this cup today and it's about this much full, so I'm probably going to wrap it up pretty soon unless if my throat doesn't give out too much. So wish me luck, guys. All right. Well, I didn't say I'm definitively ending yet, but if you're heading out, then so glad you could be here. Hey, girl. Hope the cleaning treats you well. Yeah, my voice is feeling all right. We'll just see how my energy level works. Cause I get pretty easily tired. I will say though, these live streams have been getting easier. I think it's because I've found a more regular audience, and even like people that miss the streams will usually like watch the replays. And like I said, I wouldn't have known about the Catholic Creator Conference if Catholic Kyle hadn't have shown up. So like There are opportunities that come about as a result of these live streams that I never would have fathomed would be a reality. Before, when I was live streaming, like, obviously we'd have fun, but it would feel not sure how to describe how it felt back then. But I will say I am very grateful to the two girls that proposed a petition to get me to still live stream. If it weren't for them, I can guarantee I would not be doing this today. Have I ever live streamed gameplay? Um, no, because I don't want to not give you guys full attention. Plus, I don't know how, even if I could. I think one time I tried streaming the Sands simulator, but then it ended up not working. But then I was still able to get the file from my computer, so there's a video of me beating it if you're curious. Me saying happy. That is so out of character for me because I hate the happy birthday song. I hate it being sung to me, and I hate singing it to other people. So that's hilarious. Do I not like live streaming? I didn't like it at first because one, it was tiring, two, hardly anyone showed up, and three, at the time, which to be honest is still kind of a thing today, I'm one of the only live streamers that doesn't do gameplay, doesn't do like videos or anything like that. I just am me. And I thought that people didn't really like that a whole lot. But then I started to realize that people really like to be able to know that there's an actual person making the content. Cause like I think there's more YouTubers than you would think that like don't put on a persona when they talk. But I don't think it's always evident. Like, my humor is so wild that I'm pretty sure a couple of you probably did think, like, "Oh, Paul just did that for laughs," without realizing, no, Paul would have made that joke in real life because that's just how he is. So, for those people that don't get that, like, 99% of my videos are, like, stuff I would actually say, these live streams are a good way to communicate that literally. So, the real reason I didn't like the Yoshi game is because of the happy birthday song. Well, like I said in that comment thread, I didn't even know that they were real songs, when I was doing that because, I wasn't very good at that stage, which is weird because 'cause I'm normally very good at rhythm games, but there was something about, the croakiokes or whatever they're called, where I just could not master the jumps all that great. And so my concentration was based on just getting Yoshi to the other leaf as opposed to paying attention to the actual music. But that is a really cool touch that they used a lot of public domain songs instead of just doing like what Super Mario Bros. Wonder did, where it did popular Mario songs. Now that I think about it, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book really takes kind of a Tears of the Kingdom approach to its music. Because, like, a lot of it is either really forgettable or it's just not there. And I feel like that's a real shame because Crafted World has one of the worst soundtracks I've ever heard. But then on the flip side of that, Woolly World has one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard. That isn't orchestral, but still. And it's like, how is it so hard to make a Yoshi game with a good soundtrack? Like, I'm pretty sure of all the Yoshi games I've played, the only ones that have good soundtracks are Yoshi's Island and Woolly World. Like, why haven't there been more games that have good music in that franchise? It is hard to do the time jump on them to do higher because you can't just hold the button since you'll flutter. Yeah. Um, Either that or maybe the physics in that game were just off. Because I'm typically pretty good at games where you have to like press the button right after you jump on a spring to jump off of it, except for Super Mario Brothers. I'm abysmal at any levels with springs in them. But like you get me playing games like Sonic or Mario, and typically I'm the one who's like pulling off the jump higher when you jump on an enemy like with ease. I 100% in Super Mario Brothers Wonder to put that into perspective. Not the Bellabelle Park stuff. That got to be a bit annoying after a while, but I did 100% the main game, even have the black screen that I completely forgot to take a picture of. So, well, I did take a picture of it. I just don't know how to share it with people. You 100%ed it too? Oh, that's great. So glad to hear that. Yeah, nice to know that other people love Super Mario Bros. Wonder as much as I do. Although, to be fair, I don't like too many 2D Mario games, so Super Mario Bros. Wonder was it was a pretty low bar, put it that way. In fact, now that I think about it, I'm trying to figure out what 2D Mario games I do like. Most of the new Super Mario Bros. Games, except New Super Mario Bros. 2, I liked. Super Mario Land 2 is alright. Not without save states, though. Uh, Super Mario World was alright, but I think it's very overrated. And the Forest of Illusion is just a nightmare without a guide. Yeah, that's it. I don't really like any of the other 2D Marios, so when Super Mario Bros. Wonder came out, it was very easy to make me smile because it was actually functional and actually had new enemies, and that was really all I wanted. Oh, Super Mario Bros. 3 is one of my least favorite side-scrolling Marios. Probably besides Lost Levels and Super Mario Bros. 1 and Super Mario Bros. 2 are like, ugh. And Super Mario Land 1 didn't even finish the first world. It was so bad. The secret levels are tough. Yeah. Yeah, that final badge marathon, I think it took me like 50 lives to beat that. Overrated? Super Mario World? The reason why it's overrated is because it's nothing more than just a really good 2D platformer. But it's also very obtuse. Like, there are certain things in that game that you're just expected to know. And if you don't have a guide, it would be next to impossible to figure that out on your own. And then, like, maybe it's just because I'm not good, but it felt like certain, like, jumps and certain sections were just, like, kind of hard to pull off. So, yeah, it's good, but nothing else. I was able to get the secret badge. Yes, I was, as a result of 100%ing it. But welcome in, Archer Boy. Any good news or things you're looking forward to? Well, I appreciate what Super Mario Bros. 3 did for the industry, but I don't really like it for any other reason. Did I beat the marathon level with online players' help? Only the badge park levels did I use online players for. But for the final badge marathon, like the final level, the one that gives you the secret badge, I beat that all on my own. No guide and no player ghosts. I just kept going at it until I beat it. I had to spend my parents' credit card. I got into Super Mario World really, really late, so it wasn't until I think like the Super Nintendo Classic Edition that I finally beat it. And then when I beat the Super Mario Advance version, I think that was like when it came to Switch Online. So I definitely was not one of those kids that played it on the Super Nintendo. And that's probably why I think it's overrated, is because the Super Nintendo is just, it hasn't aged very well in my opinion. Like there's something about the controls that it seems like I'm fighting with them. Like I play A Link to the Past, and just climbing up a ladder is an exercise in frustration. And then the physics of the boulders on Death Mountain, it seems like they have a mind of their own. Turtle Rock is just an absolute nightmare. Um, Link, you have to be like right in front of a bush to cut it with your sword, and then he can only move in 8 directions, so that's a real pain. There are more things that I dislike about Super Nintendo games than what I like, unfortunately. And I think it's because I just completely skipped the Super Nintendo and went straight to the Nintendo 64. Advance was cool. Yeah, I'm never going to say no to Charles Martinet. And his voice acting was admittedly kind of grating, but I'd rather take that than no Charles Martinet. In fact, for those of you that don't know, which I'm pretty sure you all do, but there could be some silent lurkers, I met Charles Martinet 3 years ago, and it was amazing. He had really big hands. That's one thing that really stood out about him. He's also a really, really big guy. Like, I think even just sitting down, he was like, yeah, he was like towering over pretty much everyone, even like in a seat. And he was very exuberant, very excited to see everyone. After I finished talking to him, he shouted, "Thank you so much for playing my game," which I didn't even ask him to do that, which I thought was great. You beat A Link to the Past with save states on the last few dungeons. Beat the last dungeon, then asked, oh man, that stinks. Yeah, A Link to the Past, like I said, it's so obtuse. There's so much stuff in that game that it's just like, why is this even here? Like the Muldorm boss fight, where you have to fight that stupid worm, where like if he knocks you off the level, you have to reset the whole fight. Like that alone um, made me want to rage quit when I was just watching my brother play it. I wasn't even playing it. I was just like, no way. That is just like the epitome of like arcade era level design where they just do not respect the player's time and continuously forget that some of us only have so much patience with these old games. See, here's the thing. When the controls only let you move in 8 directions, it's very hard to be careful when there's bumpers all over the arena, and Link's walking speed is so slow compared to how the worm is. At least in A Link Between Worlds, like, sure, the worm is tough, but it feels fair because the game runs at 60 frames. Link can move in 360-degree movement. He's faster, and the worm doesn't knock you off the arena. He just, like, kind of knocks you to your feet. So if you're playing on hero mode, it's challenging, but it feels more fair. People might say it's too easy. And to that, I say just try playing on hero mode, which I did. I did beat A Link Between Worlds on hero mode. And it was one of the most satisfying challenges I've ever had in a Zelda game. And what I mean by that is it was challenging, but it felt fair. It didn't feel I was um like I was playing Lost Levels, or it felt like it was trying to punish me. It felt like, okay, I just need to use my shield more often. I need to get better at the timing, and it felt earned. It didn't feel like I was fighting the game. If you're using I did use a D-pad. I got the Super Nintendo Classic Edition, and I still hated it. And then I tried playing it again on Switch Online, hated it there, and then I tried playing the Game Boy Advance version thinking that maybe they fixed things, and I still hated it there. But I love A Link Between Worlds. That's like the only 2D Zelda game that I actually like. Minish Cap is all right, but it's harder to revisit it every time I try. Mainly just because it's such an average game. Like, there's hardly anything about it that's innovative. Like, the whole shrinking mechanic is cool, I guess, but there's not much else that's just like, oh my gosh, this is revolutionizing the Zelda formula. It felt like it was just trying to be another top-down Zelda at the end of the day. And it's also very noisy. Like, which, to be fair, this is a problem that most Zelda games have, but it feels like Four Swords Adventures, Wind Waker, and Minish Cap are the absolute worst, where Link is just constantly shouting, and everything is just so noisy. And you could argue, well, Paul, you just mute your game. But here's the thing, the Minish Cap has some amazing music that is ruined by the fact that Nintendo games historically have terrible options menus. So Like when I was playing Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, Yoshi's like grunts made up most of the music in that game. So that's probably why I didn't even remember any of the songs, is because I couldn't hear it over Yoshi going ha every other second. And the fact that most of it was ripped from Yoshi's story didn't help either. Which do I think is harder, A Link to the Past or Kirby's Epic Yarn? Definitely A Link to the Past, because I beat the 3DS version of Kirby's Epic Yarn, and I liked it. I don't think it was spectacular, but I think I made it more fun than it should have been because I kept spamming the Meta Knight amiibo, which automatically gives you the sword power up. And you put me with a sword in a Kirby game, and I am in seventh heaven. You might have noticed that, like, usually when I review a Kirby game, I always have Kirby carrying a sword. And that's just because, I don't know, there's something about, like, being able to slice through enemies that's just really fun. And for all the people that complained, Epic Yarn, you're not supposed to have copy abilities, I would say, I don't know who you are, but I can't imagine playing Epic Yarn without a sword. Epic Yarn was the first Kirby game you played. You thought Kirby was a girl. You know, honestly, I think that might have been what the executives at Nintendo were afraid of. Because you might have noticed that the box art for Kirby's Dream Land in North America had Kirby looking like he was white, even though Masahiro Sakurai, yes, that Sakurai, um, has always said from the beginning he wanted Kirby to be pink. And I believe it was Miyamoto that's just like, people are going to think that it's a game for girls if he's pink. And I think there are people to this day that think that Kirby's gay, also because he's pink and has a parasol, which, to be fair, he does kiss people and spit food into their mouths in the multiplayer modes in some Kirby games, so maybe. But seeing as Kirby is also voiced by a woman, I can also see why that would be an easy assumption to make. Actually, speaking of Kirby's voice actress, you know how in Kirby Air Riders they didn't have voice acting because they didn't want the voices to interfere with the vans? Um, Kirby's voice actress still made a cameo in that game as the female announcer in Japanese. Because in each language, they have a male and a female announcer. And in all regions, you get all languages. And in the English version, Todd Habercorn was the male narrator. No, he was the male story narrator because there's a story narrator and then just a regular like announcer. So Todd Habercorn was the story narrator, and the reason that's significant because I met him. Oh my gosh, Todd, he might have actually been my favorite person to meet out of everyone I ever met at Comic Con. Him and Charles Martinet and Jennifer Morrison. Jennifer Morrison was great. Just this very encouraging, like very I would say if you've watched Once Upon a Time, I would say the closest comparison to Jennifer Morrison's personality was she kind of felt more like Snow White than Emma Swan, which is hilarious because in the show they couldn't be more different. Well, I think my bladder is going to burst if I drink any more water, so I might have to call it here pretty soon, guys, because my throat is starting to feel it. Have I ever met Jesus in person? Yes, I have. Eucharistic adoration. I've been to several of them. Um, as you know, one of those in 2018, I had a miraculous healing. And that healing is still going to this day. I knew it was a trick question. But yes, no, I'm a big fan of the Eucharist. And I would go so far as to say, like, if it weren't for the Eucharist, I don't think I'd be Catholic. And if anyone tries to convert me to like any other religion, it better have the Eucharist in it, because there ain't no way that that's a mere symbol with everything that I've been through. Anyway, guys, so sorry, but I gotta end it here. I'm both tired, my throat is sore, and my bladder is bursting from all that juice. So let's thank everyone for coming here. Thank you, Noah. There we go. Thank you, Lodo. Thank you, Archer Boy. Thank you, Hey Girl. Thank you, both Matthews, Tradclat Matthew and Matthew Rakowski. Thank you. Let me see. What was that glove guy's name? That came early on. I always love it when I have to scroll through so much just to see who everyone is. Kevin the Conservative, thank you for coming. Thank you, Hallelujah. Looking forward to meeting you this coming weekend. And, oh my gosh, you guys have a lot to say. Sam Gloves, there we go. Alrighty. Alrighty then, Noah. Have a lot of fun playing that game. And hey, feel free to just pop a comment in that review again and just be like, Paul, I finished the game and here's what I think about it. Like, I'd love to talk about it. Hey, maybe you could prove me wrong. Who knows? But either way, I hope you all have a wonderful day. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.